Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coach's Corner here on the NAI Volley Report, powered by Win One. I'm your host, Daniel Mesquita. Today we're joined by head coach Shearer of the Life University Running Eagles. Coach, thank you so much for joining me today. How are things out there in Georgia?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Things are good right now. Colder for us Southeast folk.
Yeah.
It's good. We're just getting the guys back, right? Matches start next week, so practice has been going well. They're getting back into classes. No major complaints here.
Can't complain, Coach. Season's on the rise, and we're ready for it. Let's talk
Amen.
about the arc of the journey, Coach. You've been at Life
Mhm,
for 5 years now. Right now,
mhm.
you're the winningest head coach in the men's volleyball program history. When we reflect on those 5 years, what stands out the most from your journey from season one to season five?
I think for anyone like taking a program over, obviously you're doing this. It goes without saying when you're coming into something new, it's about setting kind of your foundation
Yeah.
on what you're doing. But I also think a big part of the journey we don't talk about a ton is like meeting what you're inheriting in the middle, right? I inherited a program that was not devoid of wins when I got here. They had some fairly successful seasons. I inherited a lot of talent in that initial roster. So it was kind of trying to put my stamp and what I was trying to do with things within a program perspective, but also meeting them where they were and what they wanted out of your experience as well. So it's essentially how can I start to build what I want while also honoring what y'all do up to the degree that we can. I just think it was super important for me to make sure I was doing my best to establish that trust and establish that rapport and then just slowly continue to build on the finer points, right? Like you're going to have your non-negotiables when you get in, you're going to have your big standards from day one,
Yep.
right? But your finer points can kind of add on as you earn that trust, as you establish different things and as things kind of turn. So I think just coming in with that clear vision and trying to be able to articulate it to the guys while also understanding that, hey, we don't have any problems, but this wasn't what I came here for, right?
Mm.
Uh, and just finding a way to make the most out of that experience together.
No doubt, Coach. And obviously, growth from season to season is bound to happen. From season one to season five, what have you seen the most change as the Eagles have been under your leadership?
I think this has become a place that is more about the whole athlete experience than just what did we do on the win-loss column, what did we do in the stat sheet, right? Like, yes, I wrap my career up in athletics. My family is an athletic family. Like I love winning. I hate losing more than I love winning. But at the end of the day, it's not all about that, right? It's your growth as a person, what you're trying to get out of your degree here, the relationships that you build on. For me and my playing experience, like I obviously remember, roughly where we finished and how we did in the season, but more so I remember those those bonds and those moments, and that's what I'm hoping and I believe we've done a good job of creating a culture and creating an environment where guys can come in, they can trust their staff to give them the best version of that, and they can trust that we really are trying to build a family here while also finding success on the court. So just I think trusting in that process realistically has just been the big thing I've been trying to do year in and year out through the ups and the downs.
No doubt, Coach. And obviously, each season you have to change, adaptability, all that good stuff. Are there any specific habits, routines, or approaches that you as a staff, use to help these players not only adapt, but be able to be ready to compete at any given time?
Yeah, I mean, I think we try to do from just a big picture standpoint, we try to have pretty open dialogues about, how do we handle adversity, right? Like you try not to talk about losing too much, but it's more talking about like, okay, when you get, put in a situation where you are on the back foot, like how are we going to respond to that? Are we going to go inward? Are we going to cower down? Or are we going to try to rally around each other and rally together, right? We talk every year about what our program's standards are, what our pillars are, and what we're kind of fighting under an umbrella, right? We've really been trying to use the term compete more the last couple of years, which I think has been really good for the guys we have, shifting that off of just like win losses versus like did we go out and did we compete, and there's some umbrella stuff under that. We have a lot of resources on campus that help. Like I have the conversations I can, but I'm no wizard at this. We have some great staff and professors on campus who volunteer a lot of their time. Right now, we have one of our life coaching doctors working with our team a little bit, just to talk to them about staying in line. How are we handling mistakes? How are we handling adversity? And like, how are we working everything together realistically? So, we just try to be really proactive in the conversations that we're having. And then just as far as volleyball being ready, right? Like practices, we're putting them in as many weird situations as possible. We're putting them in as many gameplay scenarios as possible. Like, I'm not big into really weird fancy drills. Like for me, I'm like, if we're gonna serve receive, we're gonna serve receive. If we're gonna hit out of this scenario. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, because I want it to simulate the game stuff you're going to see as much as possible, so that you're used to these scenarios when they happen.
Mhm.
And then we talk about a lot of stuff and we just roll from there. So I think just being really intentional about what we're trying to put in their brains and put forth in a practice is the short answer of that.
Yeah, it talks about how good life is because I that just shows that you're able to reach out to your community, professors and stuff like that that have that experience, and I think that speaks to your leadership and being able to be like, hey, this isn't my cup of tea, and I'm gonna give it to somebody who's a professional. I love that. That's great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I fancy myself as someone who has a lot of tricks in the bag, but if I feel like I can't help or I feel like I've reached my point, I the success of this team is bigger than me getting to put my stamp on it. My name is irrelevant in this, right? Like I want them to find the success for what they need to do here. And if I got to go outside to get that, I'll go outside to get that.
I love that. Coach, let's talk back to 2024. That was a historic season for you guys. You had the winningest season in program history. You guys matched your conference best record. What did you do differently that year that allowed those athletes to compete at that high level?
I mean, to be to be truly open, like I think it was just a really talented group of guys that we had in the gym. I had kind of finally siphoned through a lot of like my recruiting classes. We had a few left over that I had still inherited, but they were in really key positions for us. So it wasn't like we still had that. It was kind of still that blend, but mostly what we had brought in. We kind of did, I don't want to say the same things, but we kind of knew what we are doing. We were being really intentional about having some of these bigger conversations. How are we handling our mindset through adversity, right? How are we pushing? But we had a really talented group that just battled super well in the gym, honestly. Like we were deep and we tested each other day in and day out. And we had a group of good ball players at the end of the day. I think it obviously showed in what we were able to do on court. If I'm being truthful, I think that group did underachieve a little bit. I think we had enough talent to at least make a final. I don't know about win. I think we had the talent to win. Let me put it that way.
Mhm.
But I definitely think we underachieved a little bit in that. And I think a lot of it came down to, some mentality stuff. And it sits with me in a weird way because that ultimately falls on me. Like I wasn't able to find that breakthrough on some of these kids to really get them there. But one thing it did do is it highlighted some of the things that we really needed to address as a program, right, moving forward. Like it really narrowed it in for us. And it put our name kind of on the map, right, to where schools are willing to play us more. We're viewed as solid competition, right? Like,
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, the Masters isn't flying out here to play us right now, but I've been blessed enough to play Lawrence Tech every year since my second year here. I know Coach Page left, but every year it was how can we play? How can we play? How can we play? And he did a great job establishing what that program has done there. Campbellsville, Georgetown regional non-conference teams always want to get us in because they know, right? Last year wasn't the best record year for us, but if you look through what we did specifically in the last third of the season, we were playing upper level volleyball.
Mhm.
People know we're competitive. People know what we're capable of doing, and I do think that 2024 group kind of helps set the mark for that and put that idea out there like, okay, no, this is a solid like program, kind of building some stuff up and really rolling from there.
Coach, you've coached multiple all-conference players, record-breaking players through your tenures at all universities that you've been at. How do you balance individual development, while keeping that team first mentality?
I think this sport is so fun with that, if I'm being honest,
Yeah,
because the team can't be good without good individuals,
yeah.
but you can't succeed if you're going to be an individual about what you do.
Hmm.
So we talk a lot about going through a process of like how you view it as I to we to them. The them gets a little more into like scouting opponents and stuff like that. But initially, when you come in as an athlete, you have your own set of goals, you have your own set of ideals, you have your own set of what you want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like I, as a coach, I have that. As staff, we have that. I want to improve in these areas. And then eventually it pretty quickly has to translate into like, okay, now how do I get that to go into the we? How does my goal translate into what the team is going to do? So I want to be a first team all conference player. How can I get there while
Making
servicing the team the best? Right.
yeah.
How can, if I'm trying to lead the team in kills or break a kill record, am I doing that because I just want my name in highlights or because I think that's what this team needs? Right.
Mm,
Huge difference in the two of them because, and we talk to the guys about it all the time. Like, we're going to celebrate the records. They're phenomenal. Right. But there's subjectivity behind a lot of them. Like, maybe I needed you to get this many kills or this many blocks this year because of some things, but maybe your best year, we're a more balanced team and you're not going to have the eye popping numbers, but it's going to be your best performances. Right. So even within that, we talk to them a lot about looking at like, how are you handling your per sets? How are you handling your percentages? And the totals we'll put out there when you get them because it's awesome. Especially, I was super proud of Lexi last year, honestly, when she hit her 1,000 dig mark. Like that's not an easy thing to do as a libero in the men's game. And when we hit that, especially like not right at the end of the season where she had room to grow on it, I was like, let's go.
mm-hmm.
That was a big one for me. But even, what did we have? 3 first team all conference last year and a freshman makes second team. Like, that was, I mean, in a year where we went through a lot of ups and downs just from a purely performance standpoint, to really see that and see those guys shine was a highlight for me at the end of the day. And so the other ones in the past too, it's not to discredit those, but
Mm-hmm.
specifically last year, like that was really nice. The 5 we got in 2024, I think 3 we got my my first year here, and then the 2 we got the year beforehand. All of them contributed to where we ended up or could have possibly gone, but really getting those groups in there, I think was something special.
And obviously, volleyball is not all about on court. You got to transition to off court and in the classroom, coach.
Mhm.
Academic excellence has been a main emphasis point with you at the helm, coach. 12 out of the 14 quarters that you've been at life, your team has posted at least a 3.0 GPA.
Mhm.
How intentional is academic excellence a part of your culture? And, how do you enforce it day to day?
So that is probably like the number one thing I lose sleep over is making sure these kids have the grades that they need to. A big part of it, honestly, is just getting it through to them. Like, you got to show up, you got to go to class, right? It's like volleyball. Like, you got to show up, you got to do the work. If you're doing that, you should be able to find success. It was a big emphasis point of when I came in here, right? Like I said, part of the stuff coming in here was me more. I didn't need to clean up wins and losses. The coach Duda prior to me had them winning games. It was cleaning up some of the other stuff, and one of those pieces was the academic piece. So we check in weekly with them as far as their grades go. Like, they sit down with, it's usually an assistant of mine, weekly, and they go over each class. What's your grade? What are your assignments? Like, what do you have?
Mhm.
If there's any yellow flags, I want to treat them like adults. They get a little room to work through it. If there's red flags, we're having bigger conversations and we're trying to get them the resources. We do study hall a couple times a week for all the new guys to life and newer people. So we at least get a few hours where we have eyes on them,
Mhm.
and can make sure they're doing what they need to do. Um, at times we're not letting them practice if the grades don't look right. Like, it's like, hey, it doesn't matter. You can't be on the floor right now. You're not going to be eligible for us. So
Yeah.
why are we going to have you practice at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And the whole point for me, right? I want you to get your degree because that's what's going to help you later on in life, right? Even if the degree itself, like, I'm not using my degree, but my degree shows that I can stay disciplined to something over the course of a 4-year mark. I think that's a big thing that gets missed out on sometimes with this stuff here. But it's a super like it's important to everybody, but it's a super intentional part of what we do here. Like, I'm not going to let us flounder in the classroom. Like, I don't know what's going to happen this year for us. I think we're about to have a really great on-court year, but that 3-4-2, if we can keep that as that for each quarter or even go higher, that's going to be the thing I'm the happiest about this year. That's the thing I'm the happiest about so far right now.
Yeah.
They had an excellent fall quarter, and I'm hoping to keep that
Continue.
going.
Yeah. Coach, you've been a part of many program or launching programs at both, Reinhardt and at Weber. How did those experiences help you shape the way you run life and basically be a head coach?
Yeah, so I won't go into everything, but starting those programs goes a little bit into just my general journey as a whole.
Yep.
The guy who kind of took me under his wing and let me and mentored me through this process, Coach Brian Goodhind, I don't know what he saw in me, and I sometimes didn't like match what he saw, but
Yeah.
he wanted to give me an opportunity to try to grow and try to do this. And he knew I loved the men's game, right? Like, I
Mm.
don't know what it is about. Obviously, I played, but when I got done and coaching, I loved the men's game. I loved coaching the men's game. I loved being a part of it, and I wanted to be a part of helping it grow. Um, so when we were at Weber together, we got an opportunity to try to restart their program. They had had one in the past. It kind of gone down. So then we got an opportunity to restart that. We did my year we did that. It was a club team. So we kind of got some pieces in, got that going, played a few matches, did a few things there. I left to go to Reinhardt. That next year was when Weber officially started the NAI, which was awesome. Then at Reinhardt, after my second year assisting the women's side, I got a chance to start their men's team and kind of burn through that. My point to this being, I was very green in a lot of areas, and I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to kind of like be handed something to try to build with a mentor who was just a sounding board and was there for me and was there to push me when I didn't want to be pushed at times, right? But he was there to help me figure me out and help me grow through the process of actually doing this,
Hmm.
right? Like, it wasn't these theoretical things like, oh, how would you do this? And it was like, okay, here it is, go do. So I got to learn a lot about who I am as a coach. I got to learn a lot about how I handle different scenarios, different obstacles, different situations. I got to figure out how to be my most authentic self and build around that, while also working through flaws and working through different things there. So um I think one of the things I really learned through that too is, obviously stay to your vision, right? Like the bigger picture things, but also like celebrate every kid's success, right? Like, every kid is going to define success in their careers differently. We had one of my favorite stories from last year is we had a young man who he'd been with us for 3 years. Last year was his senior year. He was able to graduate a year early. And when we got him, like, he didn't know a ton about volleyball. We were really developing him, really letting him work. And one of his goals was as simple as we do like player of the match graphic afterwards. We recap the game, do this, and then in the bottom there's a little player of the match. And he wanted to be on one of those. That was as simple as his goal was. Well, not only did he get that, but he got to do it in a conference match that we needed to win in order to keep our standing and keep going in the right way. So this wasn't just some throwaway. This was like, dude, no, I need you to go in and produce in a
Yeah.
big moment,
Hmm.
right? And this is a kid who, when he first got here, could barely, handle first contacts, this, that, and the other. And now all of a sudden he's going out, leading the way for us attack. I think he hit over 400 in that match. Like, I one or two in kills. Like, I was like, dude, you are a huge reason that we just pulled this match off. And this was not a non-conference throwaway. Like, this was a
Hmm.
big deal for me. And that was just, but being reminded of that, like, it's not, yes, I want rings. I love winning, want to win championships, want to do all that. But everyone has a different lens that they view things in. And it's important to make sure that I'm remembering that and celebrating those things when they get them.
Hmm. Coach, you obviously, like I mentioned, you've been a part of a lot of programs. Good come with the bad. What are some lessons that you learned early on that have helped you, be a better head coach?
Don't be stubborn. There you will be wrong as a coach. There are times where you are not going to get it right. I can't go around always, but like, I can't be stubborn if I'm staring something in the face and I'm not, correct. I have no problem standing in front of my team and admitting when I got something wrong or when we missed something up here. The trust they have is that anything that I do, I've tried to put my best foot forward and my best intention forward, right? And then that even comes down to correcting things. It's like, okay, I got this wrong. How am I going to fix this? That's how they know, even something as simple as like we mess up we scouted something, we thought we saw it wasn't right. Like we'll go with simple versions of this, but then they know that we're going to be better about intentionally changing that and putting that best foot forward. This can go into way bigger straits, obviously. Um, but I think that was one of the first things I learned early on is like you can't be stubborn as a coach, right? Like, no, your players are not right all the time, but there are times where they definitely have a view of this that you need to consider, right? I'm the head of the ship, but they're crewmates. They're working it. They're there too. They are a part of this. Their value, their input, those things they matter. You can't rule with an iron fist all the time. Be adaptable, right? I think that was one. Like, there's a certain offensive system that I love to run, right? Like, if you've done any looking at what we do, like, I love middles. Like, I love setting the middle. I very much try to run everything middle out. I'm a big early 2010s gap go guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm never going to try to overload you or flip you. And there was a year that I thought we had the pieces to do that across the board, but we couldn't connect on the gap. We spent like all fall doing this, early part of this doing it, and it just was not working. So we hit to a point where it's like, we can't do this. No matter how much I want to run this offense, this is what we're tailoring to. We can't do this. So we have to adapt now and work a little more like on flares, pop outs, working it that way. Even with my academic policies, that's evolved over time, right? Like I used to be, I'm giving you a little more freedom than trying to get you here. And now it's like, hey, we are going to have oversight, but you earn your freedom after the long run. Cultural pieces have always evolved. Like it's being adaptable to the times and the situations. And I think the biggest one for me, and I mentioned it earlier, is just being authentic, right? Like I can't coach you at your best if I'm not who I am, right? It doesn't excuse, bad behaviors or poor things. Like I need to grow as a person. I need to change. It doesn't mean just, oh, this is who I am and I get to go, right? Like I'm going to actively try to change areas I need to change, but I'm going to be who I'm going to be. I'm going to be upfront about that. I'm going to let you know that. I let kids know that in the recruiting process. This is how I am. This is my personality. This is what we do here. If that doesn't jive with you, like we're not going to fit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So trying to be as upfront as I can with them so that when they come here, they know what they're getting and it should not be this, a big surprise at the end of the day. So just, really learn that. And then, winning and losing comes and goes, right? Like did you compete, right? Did you get after it as a unit? We can be upset about the loss, but if we competed, we're going to get through it. We're going to be better in the long run. We're going to figure it out. Moral victories only go so far. Don't get me wrong. But I have found that I will handle losing more than winning if I can look at every match and say that we competed in those matches versus winning a lot more. But when the losses do happen, we were uncompetitive. That drives me up the wall.
Coach, and I know you talked a little bit about the recruiting journey and getting the right pieces and making sure that you jive with your players, coach. You've coached at multiple levels. I know we didn't go too deep into your background, but when you're out on that recruiting trail, what are some things that you look for that some athletes that are playing might not or might overlook and be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal? What are some of those things that coach looks at?
It's so funny because it's all little intangibles, right? It's not anything like, I mean, it's some of what you do on court, but it has very little to do with your touch, right? It's how you react to a bad situation, right? Ref makes a bad call, you get a ball taken from like whatever it is. How do you react to that? What's your body language when you get shut down? Like I don't want this for my guys, but sometimes I love seeing my hitters that I'm recruiting just have bad days, like outs, getting hooded, because I want to see how you respond to that, right? And not even just like, do you play well? How do you physically respond to that? Because if you shut down and go internal, right, this is a team sport. You want to be an individual, go play tennis, go swim. That's all on you at that point.
Yep.
How you are affects the other five around you. So we look a lot at, body language. I look at a lot at adaptability, right? Like you talked about it. I've done a lot of different things, right? I've coached club across boys and girls. I've coached our regional HP programs. I've worked with, upper level training athletes in different clubs. I've obviously done collegiate. And one of the things that I talk to the guys about a lot at any level is just try, like I said, be adaptable,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not saying that the way I do things is perfect, right? I'm human. I got flaws, and there's a lot of great people out there I can learn from. But I do feel like what we do here and how we train, yields a lot of positive benefits. So even if it's not how you do things, right, be adaptable, try to work it, try to learn it, because even if it's not going to be your primary, it adds another tool that you can use later on.
For sure.
I think it goes into my second bit, right? Like being confident in what you do versus having arrogance, right? Like I don't mind confidence. Like confidence you should have, right, as an athlete, but it goes hand in hand with sorry, the adaptability piece, right? Like don't have me give you something and then you go away and you're like, oh man, he's telling me this. He doesn't know what's going on. It's like, dude, I don't go talking like that when you make a bad swing or when you're doing this. Like, yes, maybe my way is different, but it could help you, right? So like understanding that you can be good, but you can always be better, right? I think that's where arrogance shuts you down on your journey and confidence will continue to have you rise, right? Because you can't be a great athlete if you're not confident. And then, eye contact is big for me nowadays, right? Like I just if someone's talking, you just look at them, right? Like just stare them in the eyes, look at them. It's so simple, but it tells me all I need to know if you're truly like
Locked in.
paying attention, yeah, or if you're just kind of yes coaching me to get me to go on my way.
Yeah.
Um, we talk a lot about that in our gym, the difference between polite and respect. Like
Hmm.
I would rather you respect what's going on here than like you be polite and say, oh hi, how are you? Let's like I want you to be respectful, not polite.
Hmm.
Um, so just from that standpoint, like I'm trying to make sure we have kids that kind of fall into that more like good person mantra. And I feel like those skills and adapting those usually go with that. Am I perfect? No. Like we've definitely hit on that point a lot more than we missed on it, but we've missed 100%. And then it's my job to try to help you kind of grow out of some of those habits, not just be like, oh, well, you're a lost cause. Like, no, okay, how do we grow? How do we get better from this? How do we learn? That's part of like the growth journey of this that I love about coaching, right?
Yeah, talks a lot about like just controlling the controllables and doing what you can
Mhm.
and controlling exactly. And coach, I know your player background, you played at Limestone, you were part of
Mhm.
the inaugural team there. You still hold a place in those record books. Now I know Limestone's not, no longer it ceased operations. However,
Mhm.
how does your playing background, influence, how you connect with your athletes, now?
Yeah. So one, rest in peace, Limestone, best school in the Conference Carolinas for a long time. Love that place. I obviously was fortunate enough to play. I was fortunate enough to start a program as a player. There were a lot of ups and there was a lot of downs, that came with that. But one of the fun ups was like really getting to kind of control and really set in like what we felt like a culture should be for us as players, right?
Yeah.
Now we didn't get everything right, but one of the big things that we did get right was like we were just going to be in a gym and we were just going to be battlers, right? Like we were just going to get after it day in and day out. And I think that's something that I've tried to establish in the gyms that I'm in is like you just come in and battle, right? Like be a family, be a great unit when you get off the court. Where are we going to get dinner tonight? What are we doing? Who are we hanging out with? Like blah blah blah. But when you are on the court, like you are going at it, and we're just, we're having that constant battle. Um, I think my career is unique in a way. Not that I'm the only person that's ever done this, but you can look, right? It's all public
Oh,
record. I wasn't like a consistent starter, right? I played a little bit my freshman year. I got a gap to play in my senior year because of an injury. So I was definitely more on that role player side of things. Like and it took me a couple years, but I figured out not that I was okay with it, right? But it was the best thing for the team. The dude in front of me was the co-conference player of the year his junior year, our junior years.
yeah.
The two outsides in front of me were better ball control than me and out touching me, right? It was the best thing for the team to have them be on the floor because they were unbelievable volleyball players. Now, that didn't mean I didn't realize that I was good. That didn't mean I didn't realize that I couldn't still, bring it and still compete and hang in this gym. And I did. But that's kind of what I made, my worth is not in what was going on over there. I was going to get in the gym and just bust, irregardless, right? You could work as hard as me, but you could not outwork me. That was my whole thing, and I think I bring that to a coaching perspective because also like I know I was talented, so I can obviously relate to players with a the higher skill set, but I also lived the like role player bench experience to a degree. So
Hmm.
I get like I get the struggles of it, but also I don't have a lot of tolerance for like the woe is me part of it because it's just not a part of what I did. I was like, no, you are still so valuable to what we do. Like, I like to think that I had a positive contribution to how far our senior year team went because I was willing to get in the gym and just try to be the best player on that second court and take it to him every day. I'd like to think that doing that helped. Who knows? But you know, it's how I view it and it's how I see it, and I would hope my former teammates would agree. Um, but I think that gives me a slightly unique perspective on that, and I feel like it allows me to connect with the guys a little bit more because it's not just these like blanket words. I can actually tell them like, yeah, no, when we went out to Indiana and played Ball State and IPFW and I did not touch the court, right? Like, yeah, it's super frustrating to travel all that way and not do it, but oh my gosh, I got to travel to Indiana. I got to be in Ball State's gym. I got to, serve in there. I got to play in IP. I got to see IPFW's gym. I got to be on these adventures, have all these experiences. Like, you can't ask for better stuff at the end of the day.
Yeah, talks about greatness and also talks about role clarity, which I think it seems like you're establishing there within the Running
Mhm.
Eagles coach. Now on the flip side, I know you touched on it a little bit, but what are some lessons that you didn't fully understand when you were on the court now that you're the head coach?
Oh my Lord. If I could take my coaching brain and put it into my player brain, I wild. I it's a process, right? And that's one of the I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like I want every athlete wants everything right away. And again, get it, right? You're the one performing, you got to do that. It makes total sense. But like this is a process at the end of the day, right? Like you have to take this in stages. You have to be super intentional about what you're doing here, right? And I do think it is that like if someone's giving you something, it's because they think it's going to improve things, right? You don't have time to waste questioning. You don't have time to waste doing this. Like just yes, yes, sir, yes, this, that, yes, ma'am, and go
On.
go do it. I think one of the lessons I would want my former self to learn is not to give coaches such a hard time on itinerary stuff because the back end stuff is brutal as a part of this,
Mhm.
and we're doing our best with whatever resources that we've got, and it doesn't always look ideal, obviously. I actually we told our guys this about a couple travel situations. I was like, I don't like this any more than you do, but here we are, right? So I think that and there's a million of them. I could be here all day talking about this. I think the biggest one from up today to then would just be make sure everything you're doing is the right intent and make sure you just, you love every day. It sounds weird, but if you kind of understand the background of the program that I played for, right? We lost a player my freshman year. We lost a teammate after we had all graduated. It's just kind of like cherish the day and push from there.
For sure, coach. I'm sorry about that loss, coach, all to you. And then well, first of all, congratulations. I know not everybody may know, and I know you gave me the okay to talk about it, but you just became a father. Congratulations. I know you brought a newborn home. You built your program around, grow also while growing a family. How has becoming a husband and, a father changed your perspective as a leader?
Yeah. So our third child is at home now, December 15th, right? Made it through the inter squad scrimmage and then
Yeah.
got to have that. So my first was actually born my first fall here at Life.
Mm-hmm.
Super,
All
super
Eagles.
funny. I literally got here and I think like a month and a half later, not even no, a month later, she was born.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys got to see me and get to know that. I think one thing it has definitely taught me is patience. I'm a lot more patient with their processes now that I'm a dad. Right, I'm nitpicky and how we want to do certain things, but I'm a lot more patient with how you're figuring out. In the flip breath, it's also how do I phrase this? Sometimes I give the guys more patience than I give my kids. Sometimes I'm like, no, that's not how this should work. So it's definitely also caused me to like, all right, like I'll have patience to a degree, but y'all aren't getting the same patience my 4 year old gets when she's trying to, brush her hair by
Yeah.
herself. Um, I think, it's also, I want to try to model at all times what I feel like is, a good person, right? Like especially having a daughter, I'm the first person that she looks to in terms of what is a man supposed to be like for you at the end of the day. And I definitely want her to be able to look at me and be proud of the man I am and to model after that. And same with my sons. I want them to be proud of who their dad is. So I try to be that, and you can't do one thing at home, one thing out here. Like it has to be across the board. So, it's caused me to really tighten up some things on my end, like how we talk, how we handle certain situations. Like I said, patience I think is the biggest one. But like, how are we going straight to like nuclear on this, or it's like okay, there's a work into this, and we can go from there. And then just like being a husband, I think is the best thing that I do. I love my wife more than I can put into words. She's my rock. She's the reason all of this functions the way that it does. She's just an unbelievable person. And I want to make sure that that love that I feel for her, right? Obviously it's different when I want to make sure the guys understand like that's a good feeling. It's a feeling you should search for in life, even if it's not from a spouse,
Hmm.
right? Like the brothers you play for and the family that you wear around, like, and it's not like this bad thing to feel those kind of emotions, right? So like push them that way.
Well, kudos to her to keeping you in line, coach, and making sure you have your head on.
Hard. It's hard. I am not easy to deal with. I am a handful, but she somehow does it.
Yeah. Well, coach, we've talked about your opportunities of coaching, all levels, both men's and women's. How has that shaped your leadership? And, what have you taken, from the women's to the men's or to the men's to the women? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think one of the nice things about being able to coach both is like the differences are purely X's and O's to a degree, right? Like how you system certain things. Athletes are athletes, right? Like it's I think one of the advantages to coaching a women's team and not to but like winning 5 championships with between Weber and Reinhardt was seeing like what worked from the mental perspective to get to them, and then understanding that like this works, men's or women's. Now the fight usually on the men's side is to get them to buy into that just a little bit more, but once they do, right, like once guys get that, like they're unstoppable,
Mm,
right? I I really treasured my time at Reinhardt on the women's side. I treasured my entire time at Reinhardt. That was a really difficult decision for me to leave that, both what we were trying to build from a men's perspective and what we had built on the women's side, both on court and off court. But I think the biggest lessons that I take away is just you're trying to treat high level athletes like high level athletes, whether they're guys or whether they're girls. The stuff in there is purely system wise, and even then, if you've got the right pieces in, it doesn't matter. You can run a men's offense on the women's side. You can do things in the men's game that the women's do to create some control stuff, some blocking scheme stuff, some schematic stuff there. I don't think there's a lot of differences, but it's just that unique experience of like really getting to see how the mental side of this
hmm
affects. And when the girls bought in, it was pretty quick when they did too. They were able to see yields right away. So for the guys, sometimes it's
Yeah.
stubborn people. I get it. Um,
Yeah.
but they were able to really see the returns on that as well, as we've been doing, more and more and better with it, and just getting them to understand that like if I said this in practice, I think yesterday, it was like if the mental game wasn't such a big part of sports, the team with the most talent would win every time. There would just be no point in playing the game. So
hmm
whoever got the best Madden rating team would just win. But that's why this part is so huge. It closes gaps, and even the gaps aren't this big. It can close gaps that are massive, right? So
The last thing, coach, when you look on from a couple of years from now, say you hang up the coaching, the clipboard and the whistle, coach, what do you hope to leave at Life University as their head coach?
I want to make sure that the guys here, one, they built a family within themselves, right? Like I talked a little bit about my experience as a player. One of the things I love the most about that is like, we made a conference final my senior year. We had a bunch of like we did a bunch of good things, but the things I value the most from that is like everyone I graduated with. was going to come to my wedding. We got married in 2020. It was COVID. It was a wild time. So like not everyone could come, but like everyone was invited to come. We just went to another teammate's wedding, had a great time there. We all got in, but like even if we don't talk to each other every day, we're still so close, right? My libero was my best man in my wedding, right? Like he lived with me in Florida for 3 years when we moved home. My family basically adopted him. I have those kind of friends across the country because of this, and that's kind of the bond that I want these guys to leave with here. I also want them to leave knowing that like we were able to do that because we were essentially, as dumb as it sounds, they were essentially just able to trust us, right? Like I'm here for them. I love my guys. I want to nurture them and I want to help them grow, but I'm also going to be honest with them, right? I'm also going to be, tell them what they need to hear and tell them, how things are when they're not. But their trust is that I'm doing this to help them be better, not to put them down.
Mhm.
Their trust is that as much as I have to have the team's and the program's best interest at heart, I do have their best interest at heart. And sometimes hard decisions are just hard decisions. I definitely want to look back at this and know that we started pulling off big wins, right? I'm mostly talking about conference championships. Obviously, we've won some big games, we've done some good stuff here. But we're going to continue to compete, right? That's our overarching goal. And as we compete, right, I want to change that standard, right? Like we're trying to make it further and further each year and do big stuff on the court. And I think we've got guys in positions to do that over, this year, the next years, the whole nine of that. But I just want to be remembered as someone who helped give the players a good experience, even if my help extended to I got them into this wonderful family at this wonderful campus in this wonderful location, and then I was just there to be a good influence for them. All right, it's it's not about me. It's not about what I do here, right? It's about what I set up for them. Because ultimately that's all my legacy is going to be is the memories that they have down the road. The wins, the losses, they come, they go, right? Like nobody I don't want to say nobody cares, but right, like 2 years ago was 2 years ago, right? Like we moved on, we moved past that. We're not playing the what if game about that, right? That's 2 years ago. But those memories from those travel games, right? Those memories from the next year, right? Those are the things that are going to stay with people for a long time. I've gotten it right. I've gotten it wrong. I am far from perfect, but yeah, I'm just trying to build a place where guys can come in and compete. They're going to play high level ball. They're going to learn at a high level because I think that is one thing we do here really well. Is I think we train super super well here on both an individual and a tactical level. But just mostly overall a place where they can create memories and bonds that last outside of this.
For sure. It's more the volleyball coach at the end of the day. Um,
Mhm.
but I do appreciate you joining me today, coach, and taking the time to do this interview with me today. But before we wrap up, where can we find the Eagles on social media and where can we find you on socials as well?
Yeah, so our team is on Instagram. It's just LifeU MVB. Um, we do our athletics YouTube is where they stream all of our games, so it's super easy to get to. I'm pretty sure they're still doing it through their YouTube. We might be through Urban Edge now. I can't remember how conferences all work differently because we're in a different conference than
Yep.
the school proper. Our men's volleyball account does have an X account. I'm gonna be really honest, hasn't been posted on in a few years, so we're trying to get it going again. I am not the best with social media, so we're working on it. I'm getting some people who can help me with that to do that. I have a coach's account on Instagram. I want to say it's like Coach Siege or something like that. If you look it up, I think it should be either through the Life one or on the main one somewhere. I do have a personal account as well. I kind of limit who sees that and who doesn't, but yeah, that's where we're at.
For sure. We'll be sure to follow the Live Men's Volleyball page and also your coaching one as well, coach.
Yeah.
But for those watching here, make sure you follow the Volley Report on all things social, X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, all you could think of at NAIA Volley Report. Coach, thank you so much again for taking this interview, and we'll look forward to that first serve in a couple days.
Of course, man. Hey, thank you very much for having me. Of
Thank you.
course.